Bit of an announcement. All right. Thank you, Renata. Renata's recording this, and Nadine has very kindly agreed to take notes. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right. I have a bit of an announcement from Jane. I just got to pull it up here on my phone, and then I can read it to you. So Jane says she'd like you to know that the reason she's absent this morning is that she's attending the 85th anniversary celebration for IOE. I can't even talk this morning. IODE Shepherdie. And I don't know where that must be, somewhere in the New Brunswick. Would that be correct?
Yes, it's in New Brunswick.
Okay, so that's where she is. She promises me she's going to view this on the website. Okay, sounds good. All right, welcome. And everybody has named themselves, so that is much appreciated. As you know, as membership officers, so I guess I should preface this by saying I've never been a membership officer, so I'm relying on many of you to help me with some of the answers to maybe some of the questions that I don't know the answers, and hopefully I'm not giving you incorrect answers. The other thing you should know about me is I've never been a school teacher. So I've been an event planner. My life has been doing events, big ones, little ones, and all those kinds of things. So those of you that are teachers will probably see some flaws in my presentation this morning. The goal of today's workshop is really to review the annual report form, which I had provided to Renata, and I kind of mocked it up and filled it in. And as most of you know, all the new forms, the 2024 forms, are already on the IOD Canada website under member resources, and they're ready to be downloaded at any time. If you're able and if you're so inclined, it's even your opportunity to start filling them in. If nothing else, your name and your chapter, etc. So, you get ahead of the game a little bit. All reports are due by the end of January. And like last year, the reports have a dedicated email address. And those of you in Ontario have your own special set of rules. And I won't recite them to you because it's pretty clear on the form. And those of you who report to other provincial chapters, well, you know the drill. And for those of you who don't report to any provincial offices, then of course your report goes directly to the national office. And again, there's a dedicated email address specifically for that. So is that clear for everyone? Mm-hmm. Good. Well, I think you probably have all done this before, correct? Yeah, that's what I kind of thought. I do have one suggestion though, because I get to read reports as do the other officers. If you're filling that report in by hand, please use black ink. And even if you can use a real fine marker that makes it even blacker would be better, because sometimes those forms are scanned. And by the time we get them, they're really quite faint and difficult to read. So that is just a suggestion. Do most of you fill in your reports online?
Yes.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
I love doing that way. But anyway. All right. Renata, do we want to pull up the form? Maybe make it just a teeny bit bigger if you can. Okay. Maybe a little bit, in my case, I can't see the side. Sorry.
It's good.
Okay, everybody's good with that? Yeah, perfect. Perfect, Renata, thank you. So, of course, the number of paid up, well, everybody knows their chapter name, where it's located, the membership contact, and of course, the contact's email address, which is all important. The number of paid up members as of 2023, including deceased. And I think that one right there always kind of throws us off. And I know it has for me because I serve as treasurer for our chapter. So I always think it's useful if the membership officer and the treasurer communicate with one another, because often our membership officer thought, well, so-and-so was a member, but so-and-so didn't pay, so they're not a member. And but then again, she was confused about the number of paid up members as of December 31st, including the deceased. And your numbers won't match if you don't have the correct numbers to begin with. Members who did not renew, including deceased. And I'm glad, I don't recall if that was on the form last year.
No.
Okay, so I think that's very helpful to people, because I think that was, oh, what do I do about so-and-so who unfortunately passed
Right.
away? The number of members that have transferred into your chapter. So you may have some, I beg your pardon, transferred from your chapter, and hopefully you didn't lose any for that reason. The number that have transferred to your chapter, well, that's a gain, so that's a good thing. And number of new paid up members. So can everybody here tell me they've got at least one new paid up member?
Yep.
Yay. Well, that's good, because I actually asked Roma yesterday, and she reported to me this morning that there are 1,333 members, so we only need 16 more to reach the 1349. So we still have a little bit of work to do. All right, and now Renata, can you scroll it up a little bit for me now, please? Thank you. All right, so additional pages to provide about your membership activities. And the installation date. So, that, of course, that information hopefully will be in the chapter minutes, or it's something the membership officer has already recorded and has that available by completing the form that we have, that has lots of information on it, the membership form, and then the record of service. So all that information certainly would be on that form if you have completed it. Do people generally complete that form?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not sure if our membership officer in our chapter does, so that I'm going to follow up with her.
Judy.
Now, then I also put Judy Smith. Judy Smith is a past member and has not renewed her membership in 4 years and has rejoined. So in my particular chapter, we have a member who loves to do this. She joins, and then she leaves, and she leaves for more than 2 years. Then she comes back. She leaves for more than 2 years, and then she comes back. And so I have a question for all of you. When someone leaves a chapter, do we ask them for their PIN back?
No.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
So, and this is just my thought, and I could be totally wrong about this. So now this person has rejoined. Well, we're not going to give her a new PIN, are we?
No.
No.
She should have her old one.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yep.
Do we still install her?
Yes.
Okay, so we install her without a new PIN. But she is considered a new member. And according to Roma, she's recorded as a new member. But the
I
PIN part
understand.
the PIN and the installation part confused me. Yes,
Sorry,
no problem.
It's Marion. I had a new member come back after 8 years, came back this year, and I was told that if they've been absent for more than 5 years, then you install them as a new member. Under 5
Oh.
years, you just accept them as a member. You don't have to go through installation. You just inform National Provincial that they've come back. But more than 5 years, you install them as a new member.
Okay, that I did not know. So thank you for that piece of information. Because I only asked about what happens if they're gone for 2 years and was told they're considered a new member. So I think that makes sense to me. Does that make sense to others?
Yes.
Okay, Bonnie, you have your hand up. I'm looking at my notes, looking at the screen here.
Yeah. Linda Greiner had her hand up before
sorry,
me.
Linda.
Go ahead, Bonnie, go ahead.
Yeah, with regard to this, I thought it was more than 2 years. I thought it was more like 3, but you need to check with Jane about that, I think. But I'd like to just mention that if you've got transfers, they are not regarded as new members.
Okay.
Unless they have paid fees for the year in your chapter. but they're still not regarded as new members. They're just transferees. If they
Repeat that
paid
again.
their fees in the previous chapter, technically they're a member of that chapter till the end of the year. So
Okay.
it depends on who they paid their fees to, but you can certainly accept them into your chapter. If they did pay fees in their other chapter, they do not have to pay fees in your chapter for that year, unless you have your own chapter fee. Some chapters, like my chapter, charges an extra $10 on top of the provincial and national fees. And we would ask that member to pay the $10 for joining the chapter, prorated. It depends if they joined in December, we wouldn't charge them, but stuff like that. Yeah, because if they've paid in the other chapter has paid their insurance, has paid for the, what's the other one?
Levy.
The
The
levy.
levy. Okay, the other chapters paid that, so there's no reason for your chapter to have to pay that stuff.
Yeah, because it's almost like double dipping.
Exactly.
Thank you. Linda.
Natalia, Michelle had her hand up a while ago.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, Michelle, I don't see that. So thank you. And so did Linda. So let Linda go and then we'll go to Michelle. Is that fine?
Okay, mine is a quick one. First of all, I thought from what I can remember, it is 2 years, the lapse that we consider them a new member. And I thought also that in our chapter, when they came back, we always do the installation anyway, because if they're considered members, I think it's nice for them to be reinstalled, and they use their own badge that they've had in the past. So I think that's kind of nice, and everybody welcomes them.
Yeah.
And another thing is, I just noticed in the form, I know it says they're note members who have a lapse in membership is put in there. I wonder if we can just add it to the top, because in the form it isn't there. I think you must have just included in there, but it's just a reminder when we're filling that section right there, that we can say that members who have a lapse in membership, etc., be there for a reminder.
Renata, could you scroll it down just a smidge? So you're suggesting that there be another column, like there's A, B, C, D, E, F. So you're suggesting there should be one more line.
No, actually, go back to the first page that you had. Down further where it says list your new members with installation date. In this example, there is a note there that you must have added. I was wondering if it'll be a good idea to have it there permanently in the form.
Oh, okay. I know that was my note, but thank you for that suggestion.
Yeah, I just thought it's just a good reminder when they're filling that up, that they'll remember that members whose membership had lapsed for 2 years are not considered, are considered new members.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Michelle.
So I had this discussion about when is a returning member considered a new member. So Helen Danby, president of IOD Ontario, had checked with Jane, and the consensus was that it's after 5 years.
Oh, interesting. And I was told after 2. Okay.
Yeah, it's after 5 years. That's what I have the email, and that's what I have been using as IOD Ontario membership officer.
Okay.
So one of the things that I thought would be helpful, because especially when they're calculating new members, but there's kind of a lapse when we have returning members within that 5 years. So for instance, in Ontario, there's 4 returning members, and there's no place to really highlight that on this form. And other than, if you think to write it in, under the first detail of your activities. But I'm just wondering if it's worth having it in the top graph. I started using that in when I report to PEC now. I put number of paid members, and then underneath I have number of returning members but that are less than 5 years. So we have a clear count of the number of not really new, not new members, but also members who are returning but are not considered new. And I think that we're losing that number when we don't have it highlighted somewhere, because you can include them as a new member because they're not considered new, but they are someone who, maybe after, a year or 2, 3 years, whatever, have returned back to the chapter. And I think we should be recording that. So I'm just wanted that out there. I don't know if this is the place to suggest that.
Yeah, that is a confusing one. And now when I'm looking at the form, note for the purposes, new members must have been paid or partial dues for the installation. Okay. Wow. All right, well, that's certainly a question I'll raise, because I was told 2, you were told 5, so we need clarification on that for sure.
I was also told 2 years.
I was also told to.
Okay, all those in favor 2. All right. Joe, all right. So now new members a welcome package. So I received some information from Gail McDermott. I think it was Gail McDermott, who's going to be here in the afternoon session. Yes. And she sent me what her chapter does, and I can just read that to you. Her chapter is Angela Bruce, and for their welcome package, they give their chapter members a short history of the chapter, at a glance, a quick IOD Ontario reference, so they must personalize that, an explanation of the fees, and a copy of the bylaws of their chapter. And they have a thrift store, so of course their thrift store policies. And I'm sure everyone here probably does something a little bit different with regard to the welcome package for their members. But it is important that certainly new members receive a welcome package with information regarding the chapter and who to contact should they need some assistance. Does anyone else have anything unique that they do for their welcome package?
So it's Michelle. I would like to add that with the IODE Trillium 2023, our new chapter, we went through the process of looking at the welcome package, what to include. And I had done some research at looking at some of the websites of some of our chapters that have a wealth of information. So there's a few things that we include in our welcome package that we take from the IODE Ontario and IODE Canada websites. So IODE at a glance, which is on the website under member resources, is a great summary of information for new members about IODE. The IODE, now we have it on our Ontario website, the membership fee and how it's prorated, so that people are clear when they join what the prorated amount, what they're paying for insurance and what they're paying for the levy, and that information. We also included the history of the chapter. Of course, ours was very small because we're a new chapter. But the other things that we made sure to include were our mission and motto and all those kinds of things, the dates of our meetings and contact people. So there was a lot of information that we had incorporated so that we would have a package that we could send to all of our new members and that join our chapter. But I found that looking at some of the other websites of the various IODE chapters, because we included the positions of all of our officers and a summary of, the basic small short summary of the duties, not including the job description, because be just too onerous for everybody to read through. So I
Okay.
don't know, there's some others on, like Bonnie, you were part of that. It was, did I miss anything?
I don't know.
That's
It
pretty
seems to me
complete, Michelle.
you covered a lot.
Yes. You don't want to inundate them with too much information,
Yeah,
but there is a certain amount of stuff that they shove right off the bat.
The significance of the badge, that also was we included, because that's important
Yeah.
information and for a new member.
okay. So do we want to go back to the form, Renata? Sorry, making you flip back and forth.
Natalie?
Yeah. Yes, Betsy.
Yeah, I was just going to say also, we in Beamerside, we also give a list of group members with their phone numbers and names, because we usually divide it up because we're an in-person chapter for snacks that we bring monthly to the meetings, and for communication purposes. We have the emails and phone numbers, and then a list of birthdays and addresses. So all that information is in the package as well when somebody joins.
Oh, and birthdays too. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Okay, so how do you advertise your meetings? So I local newspaper, public service announcements, social media, or how do you advertise your meetings? And this is information we'd like to know how you do that. Or do you just simply, don't tell anybody and nobody shows up except your members? So does anybody have any special words of wisdom regarding advertising meetings? I know for my particular chapter, we advertise our meetings by sending emails to all our members and reminding them that the meeting's coming up. And well, we don't say that in so many words, I have to admit, but they're welcome to bring a guest because we're always looking for new members to join our group.
We have also included it on Facebook.
Okay. Shirley?
Well, I was just going to say we're a closed chapter, so we do it by email, and we also have a Facebook page. So social media lets people know when we have meetings.
Okay. Bonnie?
Yeah, not all of our members are computer literate. So
phone?
A phone committee.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, we still have a phone committee. And we also send out the agenda and the minutes and stuff by email. And we, so at least the members that are computer literate can see those things in advance.
Mm-hmm. Our chapter does the same thing, and we mail the minutes. Of course, when Canada Post is back at work, mail the minutes to those that don't have access to computers, and there aren't very many of them. So, and they appreciate receiving that information.
Yeah, one of the other chapters I belong to, Canada 150, they are really into cyber stuff, so they talk and they do all their stuff by messenger or chat.
Okay. I don't like, yeah.
So strictly on the computer.
Does anybody use WhatsApp instead of Messenger?
Well, they might.
Okay. All right. Now, how do you keep members engaged? So,
well, I think it's important to keep them informed, particularly members who can't attend every meeting. And I know that Maple Leaf chapter in Goderich is really, really good about this. Mind you, they have quite a large membership, and it's a small town and everybody knows everybody. But, if someone can't make the meeting, then they call them up the next day and, ask them how they were, explain some of the important points of what happened at the meeting, things like that. So they keep in touch. I think they either email their members the minutes, or if the members don't want to deal with it that way, the minutes are hand delivered to their houses. Avoids the Canada Post thing, but again, it's a small town.
it's a small
So,
town.
they can do that.
Yeah.
And they're very, very welcoming with new members. If someone, is come up to the meeting, that for at least 3 meetings, they have a mentor who sits beside them and explains things to them and whatever. So as I said, it's quite a big member. They usually have, more than 20 people at their meetings. So, and I think all of those things are important, at very least for new members or someone who's just transferred in. They don't know the ins and outs of your chapter. You refer to the hospital or you refer to someplace that's a retirement home, and they don't know who these things are necessarily. So it's
Yeah.
good for them to have a mentor that they can just casually, ask questions. What are they talking about?
Yeah.
Etc. So anyway, yeah, Maple Leaf does that really, really well.
I think a mentor is good for many reasons, that's for sure.
Yes.
Shirley Ann?
So we have members all across Ontario, and one of our members is in New Brunswick. In order to keep her engaged, we've given her a task that's doable by her from a remote.
Oh, okay.
And she's done it from the time she became a member. And we send parcels over to deployed soldiers. So that is what she does. She's a serving member of the Canadian Armed Forces. So she has access to the base and the MFRC, et cetera, et cetera. So she has taken that task on gladly, and it keeps her engaged with the chapter from afar.
Well,
So
that's kind of cool.
I think for new people, they need to maybe, couple with someone, but you've got to give them something that will bring them back. A task that they can do within their comfort zone.
Yeah, it has to be achievable and they have to like to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because if you just have them sit at the back of the room and they don't understand what's going on and they're not involved, um, interest could probably wane fairly quickly.
I think so. Okay, now do we need to go back to the form? Sorry, we keep on bouncing back and forth. So non-renewing members. So my suggestion was, follow up with the non-renewing member. Perhaps there's a way to bring them back to the chapter. Maybe they no longer drive and need a ride. Maybe the meeting time is no longer suitable, and perhaps consider alternatives. An alternative could be a Zoom meeting during the winter months. Maybe meeting at a different time, not regularly, but occasionally. And also keeping these members informed in the correspondence by, if they don't want to return, but still maybe include them in your correspondence and call them friends of the chapter. And when you have special events or fundraising events that still may be of interest to them, invite them to attend, and maybe they will come back and be a member, or share that information with someone else who might want to be a member. Bonnie?
Yeah, I think that's a key point, to keep in touch with them over the course of at least a year. And because there may be some things that are going on in their life right then and there that, they just can't deal with membership. But 6, 7, 8 months go by and their circumstances change and they might be interested again. And it's also handy, well, we've had the experience that former members who have not been a member for even 5 or 10 years, maybe now is the time to ask them to rejoin.
Mm-hmm.
And, say, well, we're still here, we're still doing such and such. And, have you changed your mind? Would you like to rejoin the chapter? But I think, yeah, for the members who have just recently left, try and keep in touch with them, if even on just a friendship basis. They may not want to hear about IODE, but you just want to know how they are and are they doing okay, and if there's anything you can do to help them.
Thank you. Okay, and then of course this is, how can IOD Canada provincial officers assist your chapter? So this is your opportunity to say, I need help, and reach out. Chapter activities and events that promote membership during 2024. List the activities and events where you promoted membership in your chapter. Tell us about the successes of these activities and events so that successes may be shared with other chapters. So I'm sure each and every one of you have a way of promoting your chapter at events, whether it is a banner or whether it's a sign, or however you may do that. So Linda, you have your hand up.
Is it my turn?
Yep.
I just thought before you go further, Natalie, under the question, how can IOD Canada and provincial officers assist?
Okay.
I think IOD Ontario has done this before, where officers schedule a Zoom meeting of all the membership officers, and they share whatever information is needed, and they are allowed to ask questions. Just an interactive session for them to learn about membership. I think that is very, very helpful if provincial and national officers can do this on a regular basis.
Well, Linda, you want us to go yet to another meeting? Bonnie.
Yeah, and again, I wanted to go back to the part that Linda was talking about IOD Canada and provincial officers. I think we used to send out, I don't even know if they still do it. We sent out the list of newly elected officers or councillors, I should say, to all the members, but that doesn't mean that you have their contact information. You may know that Linda, Greiner is a provincial councillor for your area, but they have no idea how to contact Linda Greiner. And they probably don't have any idea how to contact the provincial office, let alone the national office. And these are the realities of things. Chapters don't keep track of this stuff, and they don't know. So we used to circulate a list of names and addresses. I think that's for security reasons and privacy and whatnot. We don't do that anymore. But so I would suggest that provincial and national councillors be encouraged to contact themselves, the chapters in their area, introduce themselves and say, if you have any questions, call me or email me or messenger me or LinkedIn or whatever, media you want to use. But I think it behooves our provincial and national councillors to be proactive and contact those chapters in their area and make sure that they're known, that they have someone that they can call and say, I can't find my report form. Can you send me one? I've got this new member and she's driving us nuts. What can we do about it? We've got this old member who's driving us nuts. What can we do about it? But anyway, so yeah, and I think we can try and encourage the provincial and national councillors, and all the provincial and national officers are national and provincial councillors by right of office, to try and contact the chapters in their area. I know some provinces have area vice presidents, yada yada. I know in my area vice president sends a letter to every chapter introducing themselves and saying, this is how you contact me. But I also think we need to encourage the provincial and national councillors to do the same. If not sending an actual letter, we're at least, calling or emailing or whatever.
Okay, thank you. Michelle, but you're on mute, Michelle.
There
you go.
Just following up from what Bonnie was saying, as IODE membership officer for Ontario, the past 2 years I have held Zoom meetings and invited all the presidents and membership officers to attend, and had guest speakers of various topics that pertain to their role as membership officers. This year, we decided not to do a Zoom meeting because we were having the national Zoom meeting. But what I did do instead was I sent email to all the presidents and membership officers in Ontario, to their chapters, and I attached key information that usually are things that membership officers contact me by email. They need this form. They don't know where to find this, or, how do I do this? So those kinds of things I attached, as well as Ontario. We have our newsletter, and one of the sections in the last newsletter, I had added where to find certain things on their websites, because that's often something that people have some difficulty with. They know to go to member resources, but the items that you think should be in one place may not be where you think they are. So, for instance, I'm just gonna, because I have my list here, that's so the primary chapter membership list is under member resources in the secretary tab. So if a membership officer was looking for it under the membership tab, they're not going to find it. So it's those kinds of things that would make it handy for our membership officers.
Okay, here I am. Sorry, I disappeared.
Yeah.
Computers have their mind of their own, correct?
Of course. That's why robots are taking over the world.
Yes, that's right. That and AI. Okay.
Oh, for sure.
So, awards, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year. So, the membership, my suggestion is as membership officer brings the years of service information forward to the executive. This is their chance for members to be recognized. And maybe in some chapters, a pin isn't affordable, but you still want to recognize your members. So perhaps a certificate of appreciation. And I'll be honest, I did not go on the website to see if there is one. I know my particular chapter has created one. And present the certificate at a special event or maybe their Christmas luncheon when there are many people in attendance. And if a pin is not affordable to the chapter, perhaps even a rose. And so, someone leaves an event with a rose in their hand, and someone says, "Gee, how come you have a rose?" "Oh, well, I was at an IOD luncheon, and they recognized me for my number of years as a member." Bonnie,
Yes, there's a certificate of appreciation on the
on the
national
site. I
website.
thought maybe there was. But I didn't
Yeah,
look.
there is. You can download it yourself, or if you don't have the facility to do that, then you can order one from National or whatever the case may be, and they'll send
Yes.
it to you. I hate to say you by mail for the cost of postage, but anyway,
Yeah,
so
and
they are available.
And for significant anniversaries, I think it's certainly nice to do that. And then, of course, it's signed by the president, and those
Right.
people appreciate receiving those documents.
hmm Now, one thing that along the lines of certificates and whatever, I had suggested, and I think it's still in the works someplace, that for members who are joining a chapter, that we give them a certificate stating when the date
Oh,
of
yes.
installation was as a permanent record to them. I mean, a lot of us don't have a clue. We know vaguely the year, but we certainly probably don't know the date. The odd few are on the ball and know that, but I certainly don't remember exactly when. And I know which chapter it was, and I know vaguely the year, but I'm not, don't have the dates. But anyway, a nice certificate that shows that they're officially a member of IODE chapter at whatever date. And I thought that might be a nice memento for people. And if they
Yeah.
want to frame it or something, put it on the wall or put it in their scrapbook or whatever the case may be.
And yeah, I thought that was a very good suggestion on your part. Or even if there's a welcome letter, and in the welcome letter,
Yes,
thank you for joining blah blah chapter on this date.
yes. Yeah, be very specific. The chapter, the date. Yeah.
Okay. Any other suggestions? Okay, primary life memberships awards. So often those awards are given to executive members who have made significant contributions to the chapter. But I think also we need to consider members at large who make significant contributions to the chapter, and not to think of that as sort of a death sentence because you've received a primary life membership award. And Bonnie, you may know this answer better than certainly myself. Is there a sort of a timeline as to maybe after 5 years you consider a member, after 2 years you consider awarding a life membership for a primary chapter person? And
Yeah,
maybe
that really varies from chapter to chapter. And it should be certainly, if you're talking about just meriting, you've got a member who's been, sitting in the pews, doing some work for you constantly for, say, I would say at least 5 years.
Okay.
And for some chapters, it's more like 10. Some chapters have very specific goals in mind for these things. Some chapters, it's 10 years. And, or for significant contribution. It should not be a reward for being the president of a chapter. And stuff like that. It should be for, a certain level of service to the chapter over X number of years. And that can be determined by the chapter. I know that the way things are, we've had chapters that know they're retiring and suddenly they decide to make everybody a life member. Just to sort of a catch up. And some chapters haven't awarded life memberships in decades. And it's really sad because these women have been around for a long time. They've made a long and continuous contribution to the chapter, and they deserve recognition. But it's sort of up to the chapter to make those evaluations. There are particular guidelines at provincial and national, but at the primary chapter level, it's at the discretion of the chapter. And usually at provincial and national, they have life members on those committees. And I think at the primary level, it would be worthwhile if current life members of the chapter give that consideration, if not on an annual basis, then, maybe every 3 or 5 years or something or other, say, is there someone who's now deserving of a life membership or some other, as you said, a certificate of appreciation or a token gift like a rose or something at an annual meeting and things like that. They're not, again, we leave it up to the own, the good intentions, etc., of the chapter, their own good judgment to make these life memberships available.
Okay, thank you. So are there any other questions with regard to the form?
Somebody else had their hand up. And
Okay, thank you.
Linda Greiner.
Linda, sorry, Linda.
And I think also it was Susan Lake. She's off camera right now, but I think, oh no, here it was Kathy.
Yes.
Sorry,
Kathy had her hand up
When the
first.
form's up, I don't see people.
I can't find the thing to put my like the little hand up, so
So you
that's
had your
why
hand,
I'm
you were
waving
like-
at you. Sorry. We only, and it's because it's how things were set up in the beginning, and our chapter is going to celebrate 100 years in 2027. We don't award a primary life membership until 50 years of service.
Oh, wow.
And that's not fair to people who join later on in life. So yeah, I struggle with that. The other thing I was going to mention, we do every year at our anniversary meeting, we do the 5, the 10, the whatever. So it used to be that there was a written citation done at 25 years and at 50 years. I now do a written citation for 20 years and 20, 30, 40, 50. I do a few kind words prior to the 20 years, but it's a lot of work to do those citations because what I've been doing is going back and going through all the records and history to fill out that membership form, which I have revamped for myself, the one you're filling what offices or whatever. I'm bringing up to date all current members. I've almost got it done, but it takes hours.
Yeah, it's a lot of paperwork.
Those certificate or those citations are really appreciated by the members.
Thank you. Linda.
Just a quick reminder that the life membership is the highest award that is given to a member from her peers. And I know that when I was president of Ontario, they say, oh, you gotta be a member for so long and you've done this much. But I had found that I think that life membership should be awarded according to the service that member had provided, which was also all appreciated by the members. And regardless of whether she was a member for 50 years or 10 years, I think that the tenure should be flexible. I don't think that you should wait 50 years before you give somebody a life member. My primary chapter did that for a while. For about 25 years, they never awarded a life membership when we had members that had worked from year to year, year to year. So I think like it should be very flexible on all levels of IODE, whether they're national, provincial, or primary. That's my 2 cents.
Shirley, would you have your hand up?
I did. I concur with Linda. I am the provincial convener of the Life Membership Committee in Ontario. And when I'm reviewing the nominations, I see that it is all merit-based. We have had members who have been on PEC for a short period of time, but their impact to the provincial chapter has been great. The number of hours, the initiatives that they have started or, carried on with. And I think we have to do that in primary chapters as well to celebrate the good works of people. My chapter, there are 3 of us that have life memberships. I was awarded a life membership 3 years ago, I believe, from my chapter. The one previous to me was probably 15 years ago. There are lots of people in our chapter that deserve the recognition for the work that they do, not just at the table, but behind the scenes. So I'm going to bring this back to our membership officer and say we need to just step up our game a little bit so that we can recognize people, so that people feel good about coming and participating and, showing up with new initiatives to keep the chapter strong. That's my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think this was good discussion. So we really only have about 10 minutes left. And I did send you questions that others had sent me prior to our getting together today. And one of the questions was, does anyone have a survey type questionnaire that that could be given to new members for them to share their interest in terms of how they like to the new member may like to participate or volunteer in the chapter. And I'm sure many of you have ideas, but the other piece of useful information might be come from Keeping Chapters Healthy document to see. And I think perhaps setting up the new person with a mentor to begin with. And what are some of your thoughts?
Natalie, before you do that, Kathy Hill was waving her hand.
Oh, I apologize. I can't look at my
He has
paper and look
something to
at
say.
it. Sorry, Kathy.
Okay. What I was going to mention is what will stop my chapter, it's terrible to say, but what will stop my chapter from awarding more life memberships is the expense. Because it's $60.
Yeah.
We only collect $1 a meeting in the T fund, and the T fund has to pay for the awards. It can't come out of our, any other pocket.
Yeah.
So that's the big drawback too.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the case for many chapters. Some of the costs associated with the extras is just money we really don't have.
Right.
Thank you. For a small chapter. So. Okay, where was I?
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Does anyone have a survey type questionnaire? Maybe even an informal one for a new member to say, okay, Natalie, what interests you? What brought you to the chapter? Is it just to sort of sit around here and have coffee with everybody? Or is there a particular job you think you might like to take? Myself personally, when I joined our chapter, I was all keen to help the services officer. Never did. Landed up doing other things. So she was out in her own.
I think it's a good idea. I don't think it should necessarily be in printed form. It sort of should be presented more as a casual conversation with someone. But if you want to know what their interests are in the chapter, and probably not the first meeting they're at, but after 3 or 4 meetings, perhaps surveying them on their interests and what they might want to do. And of course, ask them, is there anything you found confusing, or there's anything in our chapter you need more information about? So I think the concept of doing a survey of new members is a good one.
Diane, you had your hand up.
Yeah, sorry.
That's
I
okay. Just
guess,
bottom of my page so I can see you.
yeah, I guess that was kind of my question. I'm wondering maybe if, like, I'm thinking of our chapter, if we describe some of the things that, the different officers do or activities that we do, that maybe we kind of outline that, our education officer helps lead, organizing the scholarship event, or, maybe some ideas around what some of the officers lead, and then what might be that person's interest in helping out in some way. I guess that's what I was kind of thinking about, was how do we, might be a way to try to get someone engaged right away. Because if maybe they don't want to put their hand up or volunteer for something during the meeting, but maybe if they kind of know what some of the things over the course of the year that they might be interested in doing, they can kind of have a little checkbox, and maybe that person who's leading something could contact them.
Yeah, even whoever said this, and I don't recall, with regard to the welcome package, in the welcome package, if there's just a brief overview of what kind of tasks are available to help with.
Yeah, that's all I was just kind of thinking about.
No,
I'm just thinking of other organizations I've been part of. They kind of say, well, they kind of want to know what your interests might be, I guess, kind of an interest survey.
Yeah, no, good. The next question.
Oh, Natalie,
Sorry,
Betsy Thompson had her hand up.
sorry, Betsy. No,
No? Oh, sorry.
we're not as Nadine seeing things.
Yeah.
It's the glasses. How can we get contributions from outside the groups to support our initiatives? That, to me, that's really a fundraising question, and I think that's a challenge for all of us all the time. So I'm going to leave that one. Have chapters moved from evening to afternoon? I know my particular chapter meets on a Saturday, always has, to the best of my knowledge, so that we could include those who work. Now, I mean, those who work really don't want to give up their Saturday, but they've been pretty good about giving up their Saturday to attend meetings.
We did change our meeting time as the members got older. They don't want to be out in the evening, so we now meet in the afternoon.
Yeah, we're afternoon as well.
Just after lunch, actually.
Barb, you had your hand up.
We changed ours from evening to afternoon, and it's worked out very well.
Yeah.
One of the groups I'm in had an evening meeting, and we have really poor turnout, so we changed it to the daytime, and we had twice as many people come.
Yeah. Kathy, do you have your hand up?
Yes, please. Did those chapters that changed lose members?
No.
Okay, because we're
better
thinking about
attendance
it, and yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, with the demographics that we are, driving at night isn't something people always want to do, and certainly not in inclement weather. Do some chapters do in person and Zoom? Like, we have some members who simply would not attend Zoom, right, Diane? Yeah, but we have some that are, I mean, I love Zoom. I do quilting workshops on Zoom all the time. Zoom and I are best friends, so.
Well, Trillium 2023 only meets by Zoom.
Exactly.
As I said, Canada 150 meets, I think they meet 2 or 3 times a year in person, but most of the time it's by messenger, chat, or some other whatever that I'm not involved in. So
yeah, and of course,
whatever the latest media thing
by
is.
Zoom, there is a fee associated. I mean, for 40 minutes, you can have it for free. So our president, Diane, is very creative. She does, one link for 40 minutes, and then you wait a minute, then you go back on to the other link for 40 minutes, and you get to 80 minutes out of it. And it's free. Linda.
Could we mention that both provincial of Ontario and national have Zoom whatevers, and primary chapters can use those, I believe.
You may be right about that. We've never inquired, but yes, I think you may be right.
Definitely in Ontario, but
Yes,
I'm pretty sure that chapters in other provinces can use the national one. It's just a matter of coordinating it with them.
Yes, they do that in Alberta too, and I believe in the East Coast as well.
So that's
I know for sure New Brunswick does it, and Alberta does it.
Because I mean, the Zoom fee is, well, you know, it's $100 and some for the year, and that's $100 and some chapters don't necessarily have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've always
So I
done
think we,
that in Ontario, where primary chapters can use the Zoom. All they have to do is book it, and somebody starts the meeting for them, and they're on their own after. I just want to say that our own primary chapter does hybrid all the time because we have a member from up northern Ontario. And for those who are unable to come, if they're indisposed, this allows them still a chance to attend the meeting.
Okay. Who else does hybrid all the time?
if I may, IODE New Brunswick does hybrid meeting for my benefit because I'm a member of Canada 150 chapter in New Brunswick. And whenever they can, sometimes they're at a location because they usually meet someplace where they can have lunch. Doesn't have internet. Well, that's fine. But, 99% of the times they're meetings and they only meet 4 times a year. But yeah, so IODE in New Brunswick, the provincial chapter there, does hybrid meetings.
Marion?
Yes, I belong to 2 chapters, one in London and one in Dorchester, and both of ours have hybrid meetings all the time. They're very successful. We do go through provincial, and they set the Zoom meeting up for us, so it doesn't cost either of our chapters anything to do that. And we have Zoom attendees every single meeting through both chapters, so it works really well for us.
Thank you. So I think our time is just about out. Does anybody have any questions for me? I mean, I'm just sorry.
Yeah, just to reiterate this, the chapters primary chapters should not be incurring this expense. And if we get the word out that some of the provinces and definitely national, it's just a matter of contacting them and making the arrangements. I mean, certainly national has a whole bunch of meetings for their officers and things, so it's sort of a matter of coordination. But no, primary chapters should not be incurring that expense and anywhere in the country.
I think
But
that
some
will-
chapters do. Some
Yeah.
chapters do just because they use their Zoom all the time.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I belong to another organization. We use one of the members' Zoom because she uses it all the time and she just lets us, use it for free.
Yeah.
That's the same with myself, my quilting group. One of the ladies in our quilting group belongs to Manitoba Heavy Construction. We use their site all the time, but she's retiring, so now we're really in trouble. Okay, and that may be the case. Somebody may have a contact whose Zoom they can use.
I believe National has 2 Zoom lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I don't know for sure.
Yeah, Carol McCall can confirm that.
Okay. Well, I hope you
So
ladies
get the word out.
Yeah, exactly. I hope you ladies found this useful this morning. I certainly have been enlightened by your discussion, and I appreciate everybody showing up. And with that, I think I can say adieu.
Good job.
Thanks,
Natalie.
Natalie.
If we could
And
just,
Nadine,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. It's been great.
Bye. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
afternoon.
Bye.